2024 CFC training session. For those who were not on the call yesterday, I'm Robin Neal, and I'm the board chair of the Combined Federal Campaign Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to promote and support the Combined Federal Campaign. On behalf of the board, we are so happy to be able to present this training conference, working in partnership with the Office of Personnel Management, Office of the CFC. Today, we have a terrific and extremely thought-provoking presentations that are geared to all CFC stakeholders, both beginning and experienced. At 3 p.m., we will focus on best practices for campaign event planning for charities and federal agencies. But first, let's go straight to our first session for today, which is Nudging the Good at Work, leveraging behavioral science to enhance CFC participation. I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Brittany Matfield-Craig, Managing Director, Campaign Engagement at Global Impact, to get this session underway. Brittany, over to you.
Thanks, Robin, and thank you all for being here today. I've been working with the CFC for over 13 years and have been a part of the planning committee to bring this training to life. And so I have the pleasure of introducing you and introducing this session with our esteemed speaker, Chris Jarvis. When we were setting out to plan this training, we wanted you, our attendees, to really leave feeling inspired with ideas stirring around your head and excitement as you plan and engage with this next year's CFC campaign. And this is how I felt anytime that I've heard Chris speak. Chris has been in the social impact space for over 15 years as the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Realize Worth, a consulting firm. He's also the executive director of the Realize Worth Institute, which is a think tank aimed at removing barriers to corporate citizenship programs. And one of their focuses is what Chris plans on talking about today, and that is the fascinating topic of how behavioral science and how to nudge more pro-social behaviors. When I heard him talk about this work a few years ago, I left with so many notes and thoughts about how I might change our communications, how I might plan events differently. And so for some of what Chris will share here today might be examples of things that may or may not work with your agency or at your nonprofit or in your specific role. But the principles of how to change behavior and to increase participation will hopefully ring true. So today, I really encourage you to allow this session to help you think outside the box. And I hope that today you will leave knowing that what you do and how you do it really truly matters to the success of this campaign, and we thank you for that. Before we officially begin, a few logistics. The chat is open, so feel free to drop questions, notes, ideas in the chat, and I will be monitoring that throughout and supporting Chris with questions throughout this session. And with that, I leave them all to you, Chris.
Awesome. And I completely lost track of which screen I had to go in there. All right, that's awesome. It's great to be here with you, everyone. I appreciate the chance to speak with you about some of this stuff. So let me get out of my own way here and share the screen again. And you'd think this is the first time I've done this. And okay, and share. And there we go. Okay, good. So we work with companies on their employee giving and volunteering programs. So this is definitely our niche. A few years ago, we began exploring the idea of behavioral science, and we designed an approach to share with as many people as possible called Nudge the Good, which is meant to bring some of these insights coming out of behavioral science to the practice of citizenship, because we could through it see some really big results. So what I want to do today is just walk through a little bit of where we're at with CFC, explain what we mean by behavioral science and nudge theory, and then talk about in real time how in the world you develop some nudges based on this field of science that could see some of the positive results that other organizations and companies are seeing using behavioral science or nudge theory in other ways. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. To kick it off, to make this really interactive and more of a workshop than anything else, I'd love to encourage, if you have not, there's a lot of us on the call today. And one of the best things about these kinds of situations are meeting people who may be of interest to us. So if you're the kind of person who wants to meet other people in this space who are interested in making positive investments in the community and employee volunteering or volunteering and giving, or maybe it's around one of the causes or issues that's being addressed through the funding, through the CFC program, if you share with the rest of us your name, where you're calling in from, and the organization you're with, or the part of the organization you're with, or if you're with the federal government or something like that, obviously, and then for bonus points, your URL to your LinkedIn profile, that would be awesome. You do not have to do any of that. This is very voluntary. Everything is voluntary. But if you do that, that's our first test to see if everybody knows how to use the chat. So here we go. Some folks have already done it, which is phenomenal. Olivia, Molly, thank you. Curtis, awesome. Michael, I feel like one of those kids shows where you're calling out all the names. I don't know if anybody watched Romper Room when they were little. I'm Canadian, so I'm calling in from Baltimore, but I maybe have a different set of reference points in my television viewing from when I was a kid. So yes, Canadian, living in Baltimore. I've been doing this work for about 15 years. And in 2015, we started the Institute, which is focused very much on bringing this kind of insight to people who need to know it to do what they want to do. So as we think about the combined federal campaign, we can see that it has accomplished a lot. In 1961, I actually didn't know it was established under John F. Kennedy. 8.76 billion is nothing to sneeze at. And it's just been a phenomenal program, achieving some really great results in the world. So that is something to celebrate. Recently, though, and this isn't going to come as a surprise to anybody because it's on your website, there has been a significant decline in total giving, just even over the past few years, since 17 to 22, from 104 down to 72. The number of donors, we lost about 100,000 donors in that same time period. And there's some sort of friction about maybe the platform or what's available, as in other spaces, this idea of employee giving and volunteering being supported by the institution is evolving very quickly. Maybe the CFC is a little bit more tried and true in their approach. I'm not sure how to say that and still be diplomatic. And so also in the decline, there's been a decline in volunteer hours from 125 to 79. And the year-over-year drop has been kind of significant in the past few years, obviously precipitated by COVID, but maybe not recovering. So my first question, 4 points for everybody in the chat. And I love how much this chat box is being used. It's great because what we'll do is with the recording, I'm going to generate a kind of an article based on what we cover. And I'll work in some of the comments or observations that you may make. So the rule for the chat is if you have something to add to the conversation, a URL, an insight, some of your own work, your background work, we would love you to add to the conversation. If you have a question, you do not need to wait till the question period. We're going to go till about 1:45 here. You can ask right now. Just go ahead and write that in. Brittany is reading all of these, paying attention to absolutely everything. She's got a mind like a steel trap. And when I stop every once in a while and say, hey, Brittany, any questions? She'll give those. So you can add by giving something that you know. You can ask, which is great, or you can offer a different way of seeing it, a different viewpoint, a different lived experience. This is probably the most valuable and the one we get the least of, but I would love you to offer like, okay, I get that, but what about this? Or this has been my experience. Add, ask, offer. Those are the rules of the game for the chat. If you can do that, you might win a pretend iPad. No, I'm lying. There's no iPad being given out, but I would love if we pretended like there was for participation. You get an iPad if you participate. Hopefully everybody heard me say that. I was kidding. Okay, but to really kick off the chat, I would love to know, why do you think this is happening? Why the decline in giving? Why the decline in volunteering? Just let's type it in. I would love to know what you think. And this is going to be important because Brittany's going to make a note of some of this. And then we're going to test what we think a little later. Okay. So go ahead. COVID, loss of employment. Connie, if you don't want it to pop up right in the middle, I hate that as well. Go to the top left-hand corner, those three buttons, red, yellow, green. Click on the one that minimizes your screen from full, so it's the green one. And then the chat gets put over on a panel on the right side. Yeah, I actually can move it around, but it typically falls on the right side, so it's not in your way. You're not missing the presentation. That's a good question. Okay, families struggling, many retirements, COVID rule change, federal raises haven't kept up. There's not as much discretionary money. A lot of people have retired. It'd be very interesting to know how many people have retired. Inflation, taxes. Okay, we're getting a general gist. Brittany, if you could organize that into different columns, put in a spreadsheet for us in the next 10 minutes, that would be awesome.
Do my best.
I'm lying, everybody. I'm not crazy or mean. All right, and this is data right from your website. So not making any of this up. If you want to see what it is, this is what it is. So the stakes are, the CFC has provided a tremendous avenue for people to invest in their communities. And the question is that happening? Is it gone? Are people doing it other ways? Is there less money to go around? Like, what is actually at stake? So there's a lot of reasons why this is happening, but maybe more importantly, in light of our current reality, what do we do about it? So let me explain behavioral science really quickly. An approach to giving that does not require any incentives. It does not require rewards. There are no sticks and carrots to this approach. There are no systems changes. There's no tactical change. You keep doing it the way you're doing it. You just communicate slightly differently. And I'll explain why here. Behavioral science, it's understanding how people make decisions. It came out of economics because early on in economics, everybody thought the humans were rational actors. If presented with an opportunity where the benefits were obvious and the costs were obvious, humans will pick the one that has the greater benefit for the less cost. That makes sense, right? Yeah, no human acts that way. That is so not how we act. And there has been so much research around it, including fMRIs where you can watch people's brains. Humans are not rational actors. So there was this thing, this behavioral science came out and said, what if humans are not rational? What if they're making decisions for reasons we don't understand? And out of that came nudge theory. In 2008, a book came out called Nudge. Show of hands from the beautiful people who are on video. And by the way, the more of us that are on video, the more real this will feel to us just because of how we've evolved. You don't have to come on video. I'm not telling you to come on video, but if you want to, what a great gift for all of us. So show of hands for those of you on video. Have you read Nudge, the book, 2008? You have? Jan, Best? Okay, awesome. Do you read these kinds of books often? You can nod up and down or come off mute, whatever you want to do. You're talking. I can't hear you.
I confess that I do.
You're a bit of a geek?
I'm a geek. Nudge. There's another book too, about public policy called Nudge, Push, or whatever it is. I think that's the name of it. Yeah.
So this is a great example. Jan Best is now adding, he's adding stuff here. So Jen, if you you want to put a URL in for one of those, that would be just so awesome. And if anybody else is geeking out or you have a background or a degree in this stuff, please add to the conversation. I want to get smarter as well. So potentially for CFC, we're going to look at how we're framing the choices. We're going to look at leveraging some biases, which is very interesting. And then how do you add nudges in a way where I don't have to go get a degree to do this work? I'm just writing an email. I don't have time to figure out a whole new field of science. And for those of you who have already hung up because you thought, oh my goodness, this is too much, I apologize. Well, they're not here to hear the apology, but this is a lot simpler than you think. Okay, so the goal is increase participation without restricting choice and with limited budget and a lot of rules. So far, so good, eh? Yeah? Anybody nodding? Brittany, I'm going to go over to you because I can see your face saying, I want to say something. Anything?
No questions. You're good to go. You've got a lot of good comments and a lot of excitement.
All right. Any questions though that we should address right
No
now?
question. The only question we did receive was around the trends and whether or not that could be related to decline in employment. And I don't know that we'll have the answer.
I don't know either, but that is a really good question.
Good question.
So I read a book by Michael Halsworth, produced by MIT Press on behavior. It's just called Behavioral Sciences. MIT is a very boring organization, smart, but just not a lot of sizzle. The book was amazing. I read it in a day and a half, and then read it again amazingly, right away, rather. And then I emailed him. He responded, and we are off to the races. And we launched something called Nudge the Good. And you remember I said humans aren't rational actors? A lot of this comes from Daniel Kahneman's Nobel Prize winning work, which ended up in a book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Now, I'm sure Janice read this as well, but Thinking Fast and Slow, not the funnest book to read. I'm not sure I'm a fan of his writing, but he did win a Nobel Prize, and it is foundational material. And I highly recommend it. When he posited what they have now established, basically across neuroscience, this is the framework that's being used to understand human behavior, both in psychology and a whole bunch of other spaces as well. But the human uses kind of two systems. The first system is fast, and it is, we're typically not aware of it. And the reason it's evolved in humans over a period of time is the human brain can hold a ton of information, but there's a huge calorie cost, an energy cost to using your brain. It consumes 20 to 25% of your caloric load every day is going to this one organ. So it's not efficient. And so the way to make it more efficient is you take a lot of stuff like getting up and brushing your teeth and putting on your pants in the morning. We can automate that. We do it every single day in a bunch of different situations. You should not have to think about that, Chris. You think about everything that's going to go wrong today, and I'll just take care of getting your pants on. So that's kind of how my brain works. System one takes over the automated stuff. My brain is constantly pushing down. If I do it enough, if I habituate, it goes into system one. Now, it is fast and it is instinctual, but it misses some things because it doesn't have the rational, slow mechanism to it, and that's system two. So system one, fast thinking, 95% of our thinking in the day is system one. System two, and we know this through the amazing invention of functional imaging, fMRIs, magnetic, I forget what the R stands for. But anyways, system two is only about 5%. Now, the evidence behind this has been reproduced over and over, but what is system one spending all its day doing? System one, or human beings, depending on where we were born, when we were born, and to what group we were born, you get about 180 shortcuts you can use during your life. These are like really quick, you don't know what to do, here you go, do this. And we inherit them through our DNA. We inherit them through our social constructs, generation to generation, and we inherit them through practice, what we decide we're going to do over and over. So there are 180 of these. This is something called the Cognitive Bias Codex. It organizes it around the reasons we do this. One, what should we remember? It's too much information. We can't remember it all the time. Second category is too much information. So it's like, what should I remember? And there's too much information to organize anyways, because it's not how our brains work like a computer. I don't know what things are supposed to mean. Nothing means anything until we assign a meaning to it. So there's not inherently a ton of meaning in what's happening. So I have to take the time to tag it with some meaning so I can find it again and use it. And then I need to act fast. I cannot stand on the street corner for a couple of hours deciding, am I going north or am I going west? Which is going to work? Like, that's not how we work. So we need to act fast. We don't know what we remember. We don't know. There's too much to remember. And what was this other one? We're not sure what everything means. Okay. Or what to its meaning to assign to things. So in the follow-up that I'll send you afterwards, for those of you who really want to go deep on this stuff, I'll send you a link to the Cognitive Bias Codex, and you can read it. And these little shortcuts, they call them heuristics, mean that we can make a decision quickly based on our past experience and a bit of an algorithm that we run to anticipate what will happen. So we're always like anticipating what will happen based on our past experience. And a lot of this we are not consciously aware of. Like we don't notice the thoughts. And just in case you're thinking, I don't know, I'm going to show you something that'll maybe make you think twice about this, like system 2 thinking. So system 1, fast, unconscious, automatic, everyday decisions, and it is error prone. System 2 is slow, conscious, effortful, complex decisions. It's more reliable. It doesn't mean you're never going to make a mistake, but you're less likely to make a mistake. So a classic example of this, and this has been done a number of different ways, but the research that I like the most from this, and this comes from our partner, Ideas 42. They are a behavioral science organization. We work with them alongside of the Gates Foundation, and they helped us design this about a year ago. I'm very involved, wicked smart people up in Brooklyn. So a classic example of this is you go to the little market and there's a jam display. There's 2 different jam displays. One has like 24 options. The other one has 6. The one with the 24 options, lots of people stop that. They have more foot traffic. No, you would, right? Because choice matters. And I want to be able to be free to pick the weird jam that I can't find anywhere else. And I'm curious about what else is available. So I like a lot of choice. And the 6 variety displayed had fewer people stop. Now, the question I'm going to ask, and we're going to do this for fake points to the fake iPad in the very real question here, though, is you can tell by the way I've asked this question what the answer is going to be, right? Which shop sold more? You're going to say, you wouldn't be using this as an example if the answer wasn't unexpected. So the unexpected answer is less choice, more purchases. I think everybody knows that, right? But that's not the question. The question is, how many more purchases? What do you believe the 6 variety store outsells the 24 variety store every day, every weekend, right? But by how much? And this is where the Jeopardy music comes in. 100%. Okay. 20 times. Carrie is double 4 times. All right. Sarah has an interesting question. Use chat for this. Do it. You do not have to just use it for the answer. This is great. Okay. Everybody's giving some good answers and they seem big. Here's what actually happened. It was 10 times more purchases. And the more varieties that they added to the 24, the less purchasing happened. That's weird, eh? It's because we have a little bias that works against us, choice overload. And this is part of what they call choice architecture. The way we display our options based on our lack of rationality and our quick thinking, system 1 thinking, means that this will happen over and over again in multiple situations. Okay, here's another one really quick. In New York, they wanted people to take advantage of this program, SNAP benefits, and people were not doing it. They sent out a bunch of emails. They tried to promote it. They did some branding. They did all the typical stuff that you would expect, big strategy meetings or whatever. And then one day, somebody, and I'm oversimplifying, said, hey, we should try some nudges. So they did. So they hired our fun Ideas 42 team, not my team, but our partners. And they came up with a version of the typical email, but they added a bunch of nudges. The callouts are a nudge. The colors are a nudge. The pictures are a nudge. The first and second, limiting the choices. There's only 2 things you have to do. And then putting sub-choices with them, all nudges. And so in the end, the original letter, which they sent out to a group, compared to the behavioral letter saw a 15% jump almost immediately in people following up. They did nothing different. Another really interesting bit of work before okay. If I were to ask a question again for the nudge, again for the chat, throw your answer in the chat for the fake free iPad that's not being given out, but we're pretending as though it is. How many times during the day do you make a decision about food? How many times during the day do you make a decision about food? I do have to get some music because it's weird. Okay. I can just see. Wait, I want to see. Hold on. Where'd she go? Tricia Grossman. I could just see her throwing her hands up all the time. I can't, I give up. I just think about making decisions about food all the time. That's good. 9, 11, 24, 3, 4, 100. That's a lot. 20, 3 times, 25 times. What they discovered, do I have a slide for it? Yes, here we go. There were 2 parts of the study. 139 adults were asked to estimate their daily food-related decisions. They believed they made about 15. I think if we average these out, we get close to that number. Reality, 236 decisions about food. They just watched their brain, 236. So 2 things are really happening here. One, I'm thinking about food way more than I thought. So Miss Grossman's not too far off. And secondly, I don't believe I am. I'm walking around the world thinking I got this under control 15 times. Not too bad. 236 times I'm not in control of system 1. Second part was really interesting. They gave people some larger than normal bowls of serving food. Without realizing it, people served and ate 31% more food than usual. Again, asking them, did you eat more food because it gave it to you in a bigger bowl? Not only did they say no, only 4 realized that it was the bowl that did it. So I don't know if you travel much, but you'll notice that America takes the gold medal for big portions. Like we serve big portions. And people eat more because of it. It's as simple as that. There's a lot more behind it, I'm sure. But one of the biggest reasons that we know from behavioral science is sizes matter in servings. And then finally, this last one, which is a lot of fun because we did this ourselves with KPMG. There's a total audience of 30,000. They had an anniversary coming up and they wanted more people to show up and volunteer. They just wanted them registered. And they said, what can we do? We have no money, no budget. And we got 4 months. So we looked at everything they had and we said, send out the first 2 weeks of the campaign without any nudge, you send out those emails. So normally they have about almost 14,000 logins to the platform. Okay. I'm just going to get rid of this here. And that represents 3,000 employees. And so a lot of these employees are, diehard volunteers. During the campaign, when they were getting emails, that went up almost 40,000 visits, okay, out of 11,397 employees. That's not bad. And that was right after the marketing campaign. The CEO was talking about it. It was on all the billboards, whatever. That kind of dies down after 2 weeks. There's still some advertising. And we rolled out a handful of nudges in emails. That's all we did. We just looked at the way they were doing it. And we suggested a couple of interventions. I think there were 3. Total logins went to 85,000. Unique employees almost doubled. And in the end, they were able to secure just over 25,000 registrations to volunteer. And typically this time of year, if they hit 4, that's a big deal. And all we did was change the way we talked about it, because you can do a lot of nudge work just in that basic communication. So for companies or organizations that have little budget, little room to maneuver, can't really change anything, but want to see a result, behavioral science, absolutely the way to go. It's not guaranteed because there's a lot of things that we can do to kind of get it wrong, but it can really work. So the question is, how do you make it work? And again, I just want to encourage everybody to use the chat to ask questions, add, as Jan did early on, thank you again for that example, and offer a different perspective. Like, okay, maybe, but here's what I'm finding as well. That would be awesome. So going to check in with Brittany.
No question. But there
Okay.
was some shared experience. So there is a note that sometimes the degree of choice doesn't correlate in the CFC. We've had a decrease in choice, less not agencies, and our donors have decreased as well, although the average donation has continued to increase.
Okay. Average donation, yeah, increasing as the number of people and the number of donations is decreasing. So that's been very helpful. But it is interesting that you think about, is it less choice? Yeah, less choice will affect us when we're trying to get people's attention, but it's not affecting us when people are trying to make a donation. So that's just sort of the interesting way we're going to think about it. But what I want to do now is show you how to develop some nudges that you can use. Okay.
There's
So-
one question that did come in, Chris. Can you repeat how you define a nudge? And this might be actually what you're getting at.
Okay, you can hold your phone up or whatever you like, and you can go over to this. Well, I'm going to send you a follow-up anyways. You can get the link, but this takes you to Nudge the Good, the page with a little bit more information and some of the information that I already shared there. I've got a free handout for some other things that I'll mention, don't have time to get into, and I'll give that to you at the end of the call as well. We can make those contributions to this great cause. And Brittany, one more time with the question, because I was leading up to the answer and then
Can you repeat how you define a nudge?
Right. Okay. So a nudge, I basically have said what it is. I haven't really explained. I basically told you what it is not: carrots, sticks, incentive strategy, that kind of thing. What it is, though, are a way of addressing or communicating that accounts for how people actually think or take in information. And that's what we're going to get to right now. So that's a great setup for this. So I know that in the CFC, along with most of corporate America and whatnot, there's some hardcore rules so far. They seem to be declining around the use of AI, like ChatGPT, Claude. Just for my own personal satisfaction, I wonder if you could help me out, because there's a good group of people here, and I would like to know something. How many people on this call would use ChatGPT twice a week? And how many people on this, or more, and how many people on this call would use Claude.ai? That's the Anthropic one that you can find on Google or any other, twice a week or more. How many people? Neither, never used. Nope, Claude, nope. Okay. 1 to 2 times a week. Oh, that's great. Jordan, awesome. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to fly over here. Hopefully I'm still sharing my screen. I am.
Yep, we still see it.
But I'm not sharing anything weird, right?
Nope, just ChatGPT screen.
All right. Where did, oh, here it is. It's hiding behind this. So when you go to ChatGPT, it should look a bit like this. I'm not sure why. Oh, I know. It's my share is tied to the other thing. I apologize for this little bit of back and forth here for a second, but what I'm trying to do is take you to a ChatGPT instance and show you just a really, it's so easy. It's kind of funny how easy this is. All right, so you can see that now, and my ChatGPT is gone. I'm going to just take this. Why can't I not? There we go. I apologize. My screen's not acting correct. It's so fun to blame the tech when it's me. There's a bar across the top, and it's keeping me from actually entering anything into the, there we go. Okay. So you would go here, and you remember the question I asked at the top of the call? Why is giving and volunteering on the decline with the combined federal campaign? Remember that? So let's just ask, why are fewer people volunteering and giving? I tell you, this is the part of the presentation that I know I spelled that wrong. Okay. Part of the presentation that is really very humbling because you're going to see, where's my screen? What did I do? What's happened? Yada, yada. Okay. So I think in the chat, you wrote this in the chat. What I'm going to do is grab that and run it against this to see where it's at. But a number of us said economic pressures, COVID-19, less money, harder to donate, right? Changing work environment. Okay. I think somebody actually said something along those lines. Generational shifts, campaign awareness and engagement, donor fatigue, perceived impact, administrative changes, and competition from other campaigns. I don't think any of us would disagree with this. So the reason I put this up is I wanted to say, the AI kind of knows things. Okay. Think about giving to the campaign. What are the top 5 responses of employees? Financial constraints. I want to give to make sure it's going to happen. I actually don't know much about it, so I'm not going to give to it. I prefer to directly give. There are other options. There's no match or anything, so I'll just give it directly. And skepticism and mistrust, which is always going to be a part of it. Okay. Now, what we could do is we could say, and this is where I'm going to ask for your interaction, and we're going to do this nice and quick here. Is there, Brittany, I'll look at you because everybody else will be wondering whether they're going to get dragged into a conversation against their will. Give me some thing or an event or something. Is there, how at a company there might be the week of giving, there might be an extra push, there might be, or have a goal to hit. Give me something to give to the AI to say, in light of this event or something along those lines. Is there something, or you can just make it up?
Yeah, Giving Tuesday, someone threw in the chat, and I think that's a great one. The CFC
Giving
does a
Tuesday.
lot with
Yeah,
Giving
yeah.
Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Okay. For Tuesday, I want to send an email to my colleagues. Now, you may be saying, wait, I can't send emails to my colleagues. Let's come back to that. I want to send an email to my colleagues, encouraging them to participate in light of these friction points. What are the best 10 options to nudge them to participate based on behavioral science? Okay, any one of us on this call, now that you know about behavioral science, you know about nudge, you know what's coming up with the campaign, any one of us could type that question into the AI. This is not me being a genius. This is just anybody can do this. So the first thing we're going to learn is that personal stories matter a lot. Matching donations. Sometimes Giving Tuesday will match donations just from anybody from anywhere. We're going to set that one aside. Social proof, highlight testimonies and stories from colleagues. Okay. Clear impact. I would love to know what this is actually going to do. Ease of giving, simplify the donation process. This is beyond our reach, a bridge too far. We can't do that. Public recognition. We can't do that really either. Set goal to track progress. We can't do that. Remind and follow up. We could do that. Make a team effort. I don't know if we can do that. And provide incentives. We can't do that. And so it wrote a couple of sample emails with all of that in it. That's not helpful. So what I want us to do is think about what would you say out of this list, not this list, but what this list here is suggesting, rather, what would you want to try as a lever to pull? Do you think a personal story? Do you think social proof? Do you think clear impact? Social proof. Good. We'll go with that one. Write an email using nudge theory. Focus on social proof. Can somebody, for the rest of us, add their definition of social proof in the chat here as a bias? Social proof. What I'm also going to send you is a link to every single bias so you know how to use it, and a fun little tool to try. But write an email using nudge theory, focus on social proof. Okay. Use emojis. I don't know if you want to do that or not, but if you're putting it on LinkedIn, that's cool. All right. Here we go. So immediately, it should tell me actually at the end of this, everybody's reading it. Be a part of our community, double your impact, easy, quick, celebrate your success. And keep going. Okay. It's too long too long. This time, tell me how you used nudges. And so eventually here, 45 minutes isn't a ton of time to give everybody everything they would need to know to be a behavioral scientist. So what we're trying to do here is give you a couple little things, like if you rub these two sticks together and you do it this way, you can make a fire. You're off. You're good. Go do it. But the AI, if you're interested, can really go quite deep into this. So here's a breakdown of how I use nudges based on social proof. Okay, so at this point, we want to get it focused in, but it's starting to get stuck in its own little thing. So you just start a new chat. Use nudge theory to write an email inviting my colleagues to participate. Now, the easy way to do this is just to do that and then to add in a link or something from the campaign. So combined federal campaign 2024. Which one is the best one here? That's a calendar.
Give CFC dot.
This one?
CFC.org.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
CFC giving. Okay. Which one?
Well, the pledging site is not up, I don't believe. So I think that still is the right one.
This one. All right. That is perfect, Brittany. Thank you. And then I just go here and put in the URL. And it will read the page. It will understand what you want to do. And it will use it to write an email. And then you can just keep refining it over and over. Now this, unfortunately, it is a little obvious. It wrote the nudge right into the email, which you don't want to do. So you can just tell it, don't do that. What I like is Claude. So Claude, we can log in with email. I have a bunch of these different little accounts here. You don't need to pay anything. You can create free accounts on both of these. There's no charge. The paid one is a little better. But in the last 3 minutes here, 2 minutes, I'm going to try to do the same thing. Write an email inviting my colleagues to join and give to the Now, again, I could put the URL in, but Claude will say it can't read it. So what I do then is, in that case, is I just copy everything. I don't care. It doesn't need to be neat or anything, and just hit enter. It comes up and down here as a little pasted add-in, and hit that. It'll say I can't read it, but then it'll read the stuff, and you'll get another version. Here are a few key points, but the CFC, it's the only authorized charitable solicitation in the entire federal workforce. It's exclusive. We can support any participating CFC. You've got choice. It allows us to contribute to a wide range of causes. You've got choice. It provides an efficient way. Good. Make it more about social. No, use social proof. Now, when you read the thing that I'm going to send afterwards, you'll find a bunch of cognitive biases that you can just use if you like social proof, priming, anything. Just throw those words in here, and it will know what it is and how to use it, and it will write an email addressing it. And here's the weird thing. I know this seems like, oh, okay, you're showing us how to use the AI. Way shorter. You're showing us how to use the AI to write emails. I'm not sure this is the best, but these work. Writing an email like this, make it your own. Don't make it weird, but these actually work. Why join? Support thousands of beneficiaries. Choose color. It will know how to phrase it to catch the attention of system one. Because the first thing is, I need to catch the attention of people. This is the awareness phase. And then I need to follow up with a consideration phase because people are thinking, okay, I noticed it, but is it for me? And the decision phase, do I want to do it? And then the activation phase, okay, I'm doing it. And each one of those phases, you can share a little bit different information to get a different kind of email, but you can pinpoint the mind of the person who's responding, where they are, when they are, and who they are, and deliver some communication that will catch their attention, will feel like it's for them, and include what they need to pull the trigger. Actually, most neuroscientists and behavioral scientists don't fully understand exactly why this works the way it does. But for what we do understand, it has seen outsized results around the world. And it is an incredible tool to use. Now, I'm going to stop sharing here and we'll go back. And we can just open it up for some questions here. Can you see this? Yeah.
Yep. Some questions come in. I'm gonna go ahead and prompt one. My question, and this is kind of leading us into the subject of the next session at 3 around events. How can we use this when planning events or trying to convince employees to attend an event? Any suggestions there?
What I'll do, Brittany, that's really great. So why don't I send a little cheat sheet of, if you have this information, enter it, and give you a couple of prompts, because you can actually have the AI answer that question. Brittany, you could say, here's the organization, and just ask the AI that. It will give you an answer. And then you take that answer and give it back to the AI and you'll get what you want. Great question. Any other questions, comments, concerns, quandaries, queries, concerns, carousels? I'm running out of words.
And I'm watching the chat. We're looking pretty good. There's a question on what are the options if you don't want to use AI?
Just keep writing those emails.
Yeah.
You have such limited avenues to reach out beyond your immediate set of colleagues, right? No, you can't. We're not going to be able to put up big posters or get hot air balloons or put together a reward system or buy t-shirts. None of that. It's a very, in your environment, it's like I can talk to people or I can send an email, not even to the entire group, like to the people I know, right? And in that environment, this offers the most potential. But in any environment, this will create outsized results for you.
Yeah, and I think even some of the principles that you shared earlier on, just some of that behavioral science, if you want to read a book about behavioral science, right? Like some of those things, knowing that if everyone else does it, they want to do it too. Like some of those behavioral but these are the biases, right? Some of the biases that we all have come into how you plan the events and how you communicate. And if you have a little bit of an understanding of those, it can help, I think, make your approach and your strategy and your planning to the CFC a little bit more strategic.
Exactly.
Okay, we have another question.
That's true. I'm getting on a call with Apple to talk about how to use behavioral science to get in an hour to get their team using their platform more. And they have a platform, but they're still stuck at participation because humans are not rational and people aren't noticing. And it's all the same issues. There's too many options. I don't know much about it. I need more clarity. I don't think it's going to go to the group I want. I can't see my group. That just exists universally.
Yeah. Yeah, we have one other question. The other thing I just want to mention too, and you were going through some of those nudge theories, you know, the personal testimonies. We had a comment in the chat about how powerful that can be with people's stories and videos. And I know National Marketing has a number of those great resources for the CFC to use, and to be able to send those out in communications, as well as if I think about the 2 different documents that you gave, one without behavioral science, one with behavioral science, it makes me even think of what I see in terms of the resources and the quick and easy steps to donate. And so, you know, I would encourage all of the CFC stakeholders to also know that those materials are good. They're using some of this behavioral science and employing that. One of the questions in the chat is, how do we get those emails into the hands of federal employees? Do we just have to know someone, ask them to share, or is the limit to what they're allowed to send out as federal employees? And I think this is a good, probably CFC OPM question, since it has more to do with kind of the regulations of how we can send. I'll let maybe someone address that one in the chat that can speak to that. We've got another one. Do you speak on this topic or available at workshops at all? So that's a good one for you, Chris.
That's all I do. All I do.
All right. I've got another one.
Yeah, my LinkedIn URL, Jennifer, is at the top, but I'll also include how to get a hold of this guy in the follow-up that I send. And CFC, Brittany, I'll send that to you to forward on because I don't have everybody's email.
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
And I'm going to restrain myself in sending and sharing stuff that you can use because of the 24/6 issue. But I want you to know, in my back room, I have so many jam jars of good info. If you want to hang around, we'll find one that fits you. Okay. Lots of great options and tools out there.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to kick it over to Robin to close this out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brittany. And thank you so much, Chris. I can, from the chat, it was just such a wonderful conversation. And we were so excited to have you today. And to answer the question that everyone's been asking, yes, we will share the recording. We will share the presentation. In addition to Chris sending those materials, they will be sent at the end of the week with a survey to see how you enjoyed all these presentations. So again, Chris, our most profound thank you. It's great seeing you, and have a wonderful one, everyone. And we're going to take a short break until our next presentation. Just hang tight. And after that presentation, there will be some additional time for questions. And I know Brittany and I will be on that, as will the presenters from the next session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.